Michael Carnaval is branch manager and financial advisor. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, 400 Southbridge Street in Auburn, Massachusetts, 1-800-657-9126. A member of FINRA SIPC and are not deposits, not insured by FDIC or any governmental agency, not guaranteed by Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank, and subject to risk, may lose value. Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank is not affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities markets or developments referred to in the material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Any information is not a complete summary or statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision and does not constitute a recommendation. Any opinions are those of Michael Carnaval and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. Well, everybody, it's another Conversations With, and I got to be honest, today I thought we'd be here today, and I said, boy, oh boy, this is going to be great. I said, we're going to be here today counting the money. And I said, and now I think we're here wondering where the money went.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a short program if we're going to count money today.
Yeah.
Interesting month of December, to say the least.
Yeah.
You know, worst month since the Depression, 1931. We had the worst performance on Christmas Eve in history. That was followed by the best day ever, point-wise, for the Dow. The day after Christmas gained 1,086 points. You know, but through all of that, you know, we're still near a 20-month low, right? The Dow is down about 8% for the year. It's down about 13% this month in December. So, you know, we got a lot of work to do to kind of regain the momentum. A couple of things we'll go over during the economic section of the program, which will show that, you know, things may not be as bad as
well, I think one of the things that I've in watching CNBC, I try to put them on once or twice a day. They're all saying that. They say, you know, things really aren't as bad as what's going on in this market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at the numbers ahead, things are in decent shape.
They are.
You know, the economy's good. You know, the Fed's been doing what they're supposed to do. But the volatility, and then it's hard to figure out where it's coming from. I mean,
right.
You know, whether is it the ups and downs of the government? You know, because remember, for almost 2 years, nothing affected the market. It just kept going.
Right.
I mean, whatever they did at the White House didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
You know.
I think what you're seeing now possibly is a lot of uncertainty. You know, you got the trade with China. One day it looks like they're about to announce something. The next day it looks like it couldn't be any worse.
Right.
You got a government shutdown that doesn't seem to be wanting to end. You got talk of billions going to building a wall. You got the Mueller investigation. Rumors are leaking out that maybe there's something.
Now you got Putin saying he's developed this super duper dandy
that's right.
nuclear weapon that's invincible.
All right.
You know, so much for the treaty.
Right.
You know?
So all of this probably isn't as bad as it seems, but you know, at times, you know, the fear of the unknown kind of takes hold.
Well, and then you have the president pulling troops out of Syria and other places, and now even the Republicans are rattling their sabers.
Right.
You know, they're jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And then you have, you know, we're a week away from a major change in our government.
Right.
And we had that, you know, brouhaha in the White House with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the president, and now a lot of people are saying, whoa, Nancy didn't back down. She told them.
Yep.
You know, and so that it's going to be real interesting, you know, to see what's going on.
It'll be interesting, and we could be surprised that, you know, once the Democrats take over the House and the Republicans in the Senate, and you got Trump in the White House, maybe that will be enough to bring people together and say, hey, look, you know, if anything's going to get done, they're going to have to talk to each other.
They have to.
Prior to this, they didn't really have to because the Republicans controlled everything.
Controlled everything, right.
So, you know, there's always, I try to find something positive.
Well,
you know, what's been going on.
Michael, that's a very valid point, because if they're even going to get a budget done, they've got to work together. You know, because if they don't, I mean, look what's going on right now. You're not getting the wall.
Right.
Yes, I'm getting the wall.
Right.
You're not getting. Well, first of all, it's now been pretty much proven that Mexico's not paying guard.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
That's gone.
Right.
Okay. Mexico's not buying the wall.
Right.
So it's going to be the U.S. taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then now he's saying, well, it's not really a wall anyway. It's slats.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
And then, as most people sit back and say, they don't care about a wall. They build tunnels under it, and they jump over it. You know, they don't need a wall.
Yeah.
Wall's not going to keep them out.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
I mean, if somebody and then I saw an article yesterday that of the people who are here illegally, none of them came through the border. They're people who had visas that expired, that they didn't follow up and throw them out. They're college kids who came in here, and they graduated and they stayed, and they're supposed to go home. And there's 3 different places where we've let them in.
Well, it's a lot. That's like a lot of things, right? There are laws on the books that take care of all this stuff, but we don't enforce them.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. When the visa expires,
Right.
they're supposed to be contacted and shipped out of here.
Right.
And no one bothers.
No one bothers.
So they come in with a visa that they got legally, and then they stay.
Yeah.
And they're college kids who came for 4 years, and they graduate and they stay. And there's no mechanism. Well, there is. It says, the law says.
Right.
But there's nobody doing it.
Right. Nobody.
So we have the bulk of the illegal immigrants that are here came here illegally.
Yeah. And we
That's
just
the
didn't
funny
do our
part.
job.
Yeah.
With laws that are already on the books.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting, you know. So we say over the past year, 2018, the market was down 8%. You know, we started, oh boy, that's really bad. Well, it was a year ago. We had the Bitcoin craze. Everybody was going to invest in Bitcoin because that was going to be revolutionary.
Oh, yeah.
New type of currency. Bitcoin's down 73% this year.
So, I saw an article the other day. Whatever happened to Bitcoin?
Right.
Was the article.
And that's now been replaced by the marijuana companies.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to invest in that because that's going to be the wave of the
Yeah.
future. Well, we'll see next year at this time if that came true. But my guess is it's probably going to go the way that Bitcoin went.
Yeah.
You know, and the stock market, as basic as it is, will still be the best
Best place to go.
go. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
because first of all, they're companies that are well run. Number one, and they're companies that have been, in many cases, around for years and years.
Yep.
And there's top-notch management. So that, and then one of the things that I was thrilled about was the rebounds in retail sales for the month of December.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was one of the
huge.
best in 10, 12
up
years.
5.1%,
Yeah.
and even online was up 26.4%. I mean, Amazon it's incredible.
Now, we're lucky it happened when it did, because if Christmas was a month from now, some people might have had second thoughts about spending money. But before the market had its bad period, you know, a lot of the spending was already built in. You know, people were going to buy. And
What's going to be interesting, and in fact, I was talking to some friends over the holiday. A good friend of mine wanted to get a new car, so he went in and to see it, and this particular model he looked at is the last year they're going to make them. It had to be a Cadillac model, and he says to the salesman, "Well, I want a deal, because you're not going to make this car anymore. And when I get it, if I go to trade it in 2 years from now, what am I going to get for it? I'm going to take a hit on this thing." And we got rebates, and normally, my friend was telling me that this time of year, people, they got the money, they'll get a car, they'll buy them now.
Right.
Sales are way off because people, what happened in the last week and a half, people are going, whoa, I'm not going to run down on the 29th or 30th to buy a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's going to start to back up, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it could, very well. Very, very well. The technical indicators that we like to look at every month, to give a sort of a feel for where we think things may be going. Generally in normal times when you don't have a lot of this political uncertainty, they can be kind of enlightening. I mean, right now, all the technical indicators, the three major ones we look at anyways, are so low that they would signal the market's definitely due to a rebound sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And that usually works most of the time. But we do have those uncertainties out there right now. We got China, we got the closing of the government, we got the Mueller investigation. The technical analysis, as great as I say it is, won't pick up those things. It will only pick up stuff it can numerically measure.
Yeah.
So I think although there may not be a lot more dropping of the market to go, and it would look like, at least on those readings, you should see a pretty good rebound. That may not happen as quickly as a lot of people hope it was. When you get a big drop like we had in December, the drop basically came all in 1 month.
Yeah.
Historically,
We're down 5,000 points.
Right. Historically, it's very rare that it immediately turns around and goes up. What would be known as a V-type recovery, where it drops down and immediately goes up, looks like a V. Usually, when you get something like happened in December, you tend to get a recovery that looks more like a U.
Yeah, but this is like a W.
Right.
Going boom, boom, boom,
right.
boom.
Or the W.
Yeah.
And either one of those obviously take time to unfold.
Well, what happens is, as you look at it, you're up one day, oh, well, no, gee, that's getting big. And then the next day you go, what?
Right.
Down 500?
Right.
I mean.
And a lot of that is due to the rumors, the uncertainty, not about the economy, but about politics.
The political aspect, and in fact, there was a group on today, different big shots from different companies, and they were saying the problem is that the market is very, very concerned because while the Democrats only have the House, they control the government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The funny part is, no one's recognizing that yet.
Mm-hmm.
You have a president in the White House who's a Republican, but then his own party is getting nervous with him.
Right.
And now you got the Senate. The senators control the Senate, but even some of his staunchest supporters are backing up.
Yep.
And so now, all of a sudden, on December 4th, the Democratic Party, who now controls the House, suddenly controls the government because they're the ones that are going to determine what gets passed and what doesn't get passed.
Yep.
Not the Senate or the president. And they can send him stuff that they know he won't sign.
Right.
And just hurt the Republicans more and more and more. So that the minority party really is driving the government.
Is. And you're already starting to see talk about, well, who's going to run in 2020. And if that ever starts taking hold, then you get people saying, well, we won't do anything for 2 years. We'll see.
Right. Let's see what's going to happen.
Right. And that would even more paralysis, which again would be, again,
I saw a graph the other day, and the only thing that made me pleased was they listed all the possible candidates, and there was 3 categories. Would be good, shouldn't run, definitely won't run. And down the bottom was Hillary.
Yeah.
And it was a big spread, and it said, don't run.
Yeah. Well, I think, if they want to have any chance of winning, she can't do it.
She can't.
No.
But she's out there dancing around.
Oh, yeah. Well, they hate to give it up.
Oh, that's it.
The perks and stuff.
Yeah, it's tough to walk away.
It is.
But again, to your point, like I forget it, Bob somebody was on today, and he said, as you did, he said, that the thing that's troubling is the numbers are looking good.
Yeah.
The numbers we look at look good.
Yeah.
The numbers say we should be doing better.
Right. None of the economic numbers that I would look at show any sign of getting worse.
Yeah, well, see, he brought that up today.
Yeah, okay.
And he was saying, he says, I'm looking
I
at
would
these
agree.
numbers, and the numbers are telling me this isn't real.
Right, right.
You know, and he said, this, you know, in all the time I've worked here, he said, this is the first time I had to say, the numbers are saying this isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's interesting.
Well, some of the major news of the past month. Microsoft became the largest publicly traded stock. It, in terms of market capitalization, was the price of Microsoft multiplied by the number of shares, and they took that top spot from Apple Computer. And Apple had been the biggest company since 2012. So, yeah, you look back at, well, what were some other big companies over the years?
General Electric
There
Corporation.
you go. That's the one.
Down the bottom.
Down the bottom.
Gone.
Yep. Exxon.
Yeah. ExxonMobil.
Not what it once was.
No. And that's what, I mean, you talk about, I remember even growing up, you know, you can put your confidence in General Electric.
Mm-hmm.
They were the premier company, even in the early days of television. They sponsored every TV program. You know, they had their slogans, GE brings the world to light, you know. I mean, they were the premier company, and now they can't give it away.
Give the stock away, right? Nowhere near. So, who knows what the future will bring? But it was interesting that this month Microsoft toppled Apple, and we know Apple's had made a pretty good run.
Yeah.
We also had an anniversary, which I always like to bring up. It's December. It was the 38th anniversary of the initial public offering of Apple stock.
Wow.
And I always like to bring that up because residents of Massachusetts were barred by the Secretary of State's office from buying it on the initial public offering. Yep. Wouldn't clear it in Massachusetts because he said that the company had uncertain earnings in future. Because we know what happened to Apple Computer.
You
right?
imagine?
Yeah.
It's 38 years. It would be interesting to see somebody who bought, I don't know, $100 worth of Apple
Stock's
stock.
up 43,000%. 43. You know, we're talking a good return, maybe 10%.
Yeah.
This is 43,000%.
So if somebody, even back then, somebody invested $1,000 in Apple, they'd be a millionaire today.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Millionaire.
yeah. And the other interesting thing I like to tie to Apple is the movie Forrest Gump that came out in 1994.
Yeah.
And of course, Gump was I find that to be a great movie, and he was a great character, I thought. But his partner there, the lieutenant, the Taylor, he invested some of the money that they got when the boat was destroyed in a company that Gump only knew as a fruit company called. He says, I don't know. He says, Lieutenant Dan put all our money in a fruit company stock, and I don't know. I don't have any more money worries. Of course, and if you watch the movie, you see he's holding an Apple Computer stock certificate.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, stranger things can happen, right?
Fruit company.
He thought it was a fruit company.
Yeah.
But interesting, those two items kind of linked together, Apple and Microsoft this month.
Yeah.
The Fed raised interest rates as it was expected, and Mexico also did. But Europe and the United Kingdom, European Central Bank and England did not raise interest rates. So kind of mixed there. The Fed cut their growth rate. They had the press conference after the meeting. They cut the growth rate and kind of said, well, maybe they're not going to raise rates as much as they had originally thought. Of course, the president criticized the Fed before the meeting and then after the meeting, and that's kind of continued, most of this year.
Well, I watched a conversation yesterday that of the, I think there's 11 of them, whatever the number are on the Fed. The president appointed 6 of them.
Yeah. Oh, they're mostly his people.
Yeah, they're all his people.
Yeah.
He appointed 6 of the ones that control the board, and now he's beating them up.
Yep.
Blaming them. Well, see, because he took credit when it was up, and now how can he? See, then he's going to have to take the blame. No, he has to blame somebody else.
Right.
It's them.
And then there was that someone pulled out a tweet that he made I think it was in 2012, where he said, you know, if the Dow Jones went down 1,000 points in 2 days, the president should be impeached. Of course, little do we know,
Yeah.
the Dow has gone down that much in 2
Oh,
days.
yes, it has.
But he doesn't bring that up. Then finally, as far as news, December was the 10th anniversary of the Madoff scandal, the arrest of Madoff. He's now 80 years old, serving a life sentence, or serving a 150-year sentence, which is, I guess, is a life sentence, right? But it was turned out to be the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Affected 37,000 people in something like 135 or so countries.
A lot of them got their money back.
A lot of them got the money back, but still $50 billion worth unaccounted for.
Yeah. Yep. And then I saw a thing yesterday that they were talking about his wife. She's still around.
Right, still around.
And her life was just, you know, what happened to her. She was living king of the, you know.
His 2 sons, one killed himself, the other died of cancer.
Yeah.
And now there was a story, I don't know, this week, his secretary is appealing to get out on early release because she served, I don't know, 2/3 of her sentence.
Yeah.
She's 70 years old, whether that happens or not. But
Yeah.
again, you know, that's a whole situation where people who worked in the industry couldn't understand. Well, doesn't the SEC audit him the way the regulators audit us?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, then how come they couldn't see that? Because they can see a T that isn't crossed on our side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, again, another case where the laws are in place, they're just not.
Someone just
Someone's
wasn't paying attention.
asleep at the switch there.
Yeah. Oh, you know, and it happened. I mean, look, we see it here, right here in Massachusetts, with our state police. Mm-hmm. And they that's 1 year. Now they started the second year, and they got 42 more of them. And I was talking to a great friend of mine, and I said, but look, you know all those state troopers that got gold on, and they have the gold on their hats, and they got stars on their sleeve, and they got 2 stripes down their pants instead of 1, the officers. Mm-hmm. You know what all of them were before they became an officer? They were troopers. Yeah. Wait till they go back to 2012 and 2010
and see.
Catch them.
Yeah.
If you don't, and the beauty of it is, and I said this to the governor, I said, Governor, you don't think they knew?
Of course.
And they're still up there riding around in their gold braid and, you know, big lepaulettes on their shoulders. Mm-hmm. And he said, believe me, before it's over, they'll all get it. Yeah. You know, and some of them walking around with $200,000 pensions. Oh, yeah. I mean, think of their lives. They're going to lose those, babies. Yeah. They're going to be found guilty, gone. You know?
And probably have next to nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. If they didn't save it.
If they didn't save it, that's
they're in trouble.
And there was probably no need to save it if that's your pension.
If someone's getting $150,000 a year pension, what's the point?
Right.
The money just rolls in every month.
That's right. And the state's not going out of business.
No, you know, so, you know, and you say, how did they didn't catch it? Yeah. Because they knew about it and let it go.
Of course.
You know, and so like, somebody somewhere knew about Madoff.
Yep. And probably said something to somebody, and somebody said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it.
Or they were on the take.
Right. That's a good possibility.
You know, there was a couple of dollars slipped in the pocket every month.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're going to get away with it, you got to buy people.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Madoff, if he was smart enough to do it, he was smart enough to take care of the right guy. Or guys.
You know, reading all about that and being in the industry, that's the only way it could have took place.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise, you can't hide that stuff.
That amount of money.
No.
Well, you know, it's like I've told people before. And I said, it's like a little kid. And the little kid comes home, and there's a penny on the table. And he looks around, and there's nobody there, and he picks it up and puts it in his pocket. And a couple of days later, he realizes nobody knows. And then he was in again, there's a nickel. And he takes the nickel. And nobody knows. And then it's a dime. And then it's a quarter. And then it's $1. And then he robs a bank and gets caught. You see, it goes back to, you keep doing it because you get away with it. but eventually they get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually they get you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we've seen, time and time.
Time again.
I mean, it's just like poor Billy Bulger.
Yeah.
Eventually, they got him.
They got him. It took
A long
a
time.
long time.
They got him, and then the rest, and then the other guys took care of it.
That's
after
right.
they got him.
Right.
You know, and that's the world you want to live in. You know,
Eventually, that's how you're going to go.
they get you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and
They don't forget.
nope, they don't forget.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and they get you. So
We look at the 4 economics items every month: inflation, leading economic indicators, jobless claims, and the employment report. As we've said earlier, they all nothing's out of the ordinary. Continuation of good economic numbers, no inflation, unemployment low, layoffs very low, job creation is enough to grow the economy. You need at least 150,000 non-farm jobs created every month, and you know, a month of November we had 155,000. That was down from over 200,000 in October. So, from an economic standpoint, nothing wrong.
Michael, Massachusetts, what, wait, 3.4%?
Massachusetts.
The money,
Yeah.
the money is rolling into
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah.
Every month the collections are up 8 and 10%.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to end the year with a surplus.
Not only is Massachusetts unemployment low, today the state released the unemployment rates for all cities and towns, and Worcester County has unemployment under the state's average, which is pretty good.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's happening in the stock market is not related to what's happening in the economy.
No.
It's politics, and which is a good thing, because if some of these political things can get corrected, you can get the rebound
Yeah.
a little quicker
Yeah.
than if you have to wait for the economy to
Yeah.
improve.
Yep. And you know, and the good news is the world's not coming to an end.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people think so, but
lot of
it's
people think
not.
so.
And I think one of the things that even with a volatility in the White House that we have, with a president that shoots from the hip, we've already got through 2 years,
Yeah.
you know, and we're still there, and we're still moving along, you know, and fighting with everybody, but we're still, you
Right.
know,
And for people who are in it the long term, they've done well. I mean, market was 18,000 something when Trump got elected, and as bad as it is today, we're still at 22.4 or 5.
yeah.
So I mean, we've lost almost half of the gain, but we still get a gain over the past 2
yeah.
years.
Well, I
I
mean,
can't
you can
say that about
isn't
too
it
many
too bad?
things.
You know, we were sitting here lamenting on the radio when it was 6.
Oh, yeah.
65.
Oh, yeah.
6,500 points, and here we sit. Isn't it too bad? Gee, it's 22.5 today.
Praying that
Yeah.
once it gets to 10,000.
So you will be okay.
It's more than double that. But obviously, November wasn't a great month, and if we don't get a rebound in the next few days, the December statements are not going to look that great.
No.
And I will say, more people are calling now. More people are concerned, and usually, that happens after it's dropped. No one's calling at all-time highs saying how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
It's after.
How'd it
something-
go, Michael?
Yeah.
Great job.
It's after the drop.
Yeah.
So
What do we do now?
right.
You know,
Well, you can't. I mean, it's funny, and human nature is always can get you into trouble sometimes. It's always, I lost so much, and but you're picking the all-time high. You
Wait,
can't do that.
I had my good friend who took a pounding before. I was with him this weekend at Christmas. And I put my arm around. I said, Ernie, I said, he says, but you know what? It's going to come back. Now, he wouldn't say, because he gets mad at me.
Oh, yeah?
Because I just left it alone.
Yeah.
And he said, but to your point, and you always tell me, don't worry, Ernie, it'll come back.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it will. Just hold on.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
And so maybe even if we just turned one soul that understands that it'll get, as I said, the world has not come to an end.
It hasn't come to an end, and you don't want to make light of these losses, because we're all
They're
suffering.
real.
We're
Oh,
all
yeah.
suffering. But I'd be more concerned if it was because of economic reasons
Yeah.
than political.
Well, that's what this fellow Bob Pisani, whatever his name is.
Okay.
He said, you know, and I know about it because you use them. He said, I'm looking at my numbers that I check here, and he says, they're all saying things are good.
Yeah.
You know, so he says, I am encouraged that we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, so. And then the Patriots won, 10th year in a row.
They did. Yeah.
And it was, I saw an article today, and there
Took
was,
longer than expected.
well,
but
they were rating the different teams, and then the guy goes, ho hum, they did it again. You know, isn't it terrible?
Yeah, yeah.
Brady's old, Gronkowski can't catch, Edelman's got a bad toe, and he listed all the funny things. You know?
Yeah, that could
And he
possibly
says,
happen.
and just think, there they are.
Yeah.
And he says, with one sweep Sunday, they could be the #1 seed
Oh,
again.
yeah. As bad as it looked
Yeah,
2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
it
Guess what?
Yeah.
You know.
could be all corrected.
Yep. Guess what?
Same
And,
thing with the market.
And we know that traditionally, when you pick on Brady, that may be not good idea.
Yeah, usually historically it's not.
You know, he comes bouncing back. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. So,
Yeah.
well, Michael, we head into a new year,
We are.
and I guess the good news is this one's behind us.
That's right. It's going to end in a few days.
and
No one's going to cry about it.
No.
And then we look forward to 2019.
2019, and you know, and all that we face.
Absolutely.
So, have a great new year.
You too.
There you are, folks, and other conversations with.